Om Tat Sat. Thank you for joining this session. This session is where we will be learning the basics of Saṁskṛtam. If you're someone who's interested to study the Bhagavad Gita in English or other scriptures in English language, then I will highly recommend you to watch this video first before you start the study of the Bhagavad Gita. As in this video, we will be learning the basics of Samskrtam, how to read the script in an accurate way without any error. What is the sound of each and every letter? How to pronounce them? And if you are also someone who does not know how to read the Devanagari script, even then, I will highly recommend you to watch this video because in this session, you will be empowered to learn and to recite the verses without any error and with accuracy. I will also be making a similar video like this when I'm recording for the regional language sessions. I'm sure most of you might be knowing that I also share the Bhagavad Gita in Hindi as well as in Tamil. But for now, I have paused my teachings in Hindi and Tamil so that I can completely focus on completing the level 1, level 2, and level 3 teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, so that there's no delay for all of you in receiving the videos of these sessions. Doing it in multiple languages delays the timeline. So, due to which, as of now, for the next 2 years, is what the set target is to complete all the 3 levels in English. After that, you will also find the videos in Hindi as well as in Tamil. So let's begin with today's session. As mentioned, before you enter into chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, I will highly recommend you to watch this video, which will be found under Saṁskṛtam Basics. And when you enter over here, you'll find this video plus the content which is being shared in this video. Before we begin with today's session, we will do a very short meditation, just a 5-minute meditation on the mantra Om Paramatmane Namaha. It means we bow down to Shri Vishnu, Shri Shiva, Ma Devi, or whoever your Ishta Devata is, as they are the Paramatman, the consciousness which is everywhere in this creation. We seek their blessings, we seek their guidance, so we can properly study and understand this divine wisdom without any error. So I will humbly request you to sit down on the floor in a proper meditative posture, Sukhasanam. So we can begin with our meditation for 5-10 minutes before we start learning the basics of Samskrtam. Remember, the mantra is recited as Om Paramatmane Namaha. Let's begin. Because this mantra is going to reveal what we will be studying today, which is sound. So let's begin. Chant the mantra along with me. Om Paramatmane Namaha. 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 Slowly joining your palms and slowly open your eyes. Today, for the first few minutes, we will try to learn the complete basics of Samskrtam. The reason behind this session is because when many individuals who might not know to read the Devanagari script, they become a little confused thinking, will I qualify to study and understand the Gita? Or they might think, maybe the Gita cannot be properly studied in English. I will have to learn it in a regional language to understand it. These are the thoughts which come in the mind of a seeker who wishes to study the Bhagavad Gita. So, this session has been created to make such a sincere seeker understand that you can very well, in perfection, understand the Gita even without the help of any regional languages. Because Samskrtam is a global language. Samskrtam is completely based on sounds. If you learn the sounds properly of every letter, you will be able to master, to recite these verses even without looking at the Devanagari script. That is the intention behind creating this video. It is to bring back your confidence and to make you feel comfortable to read the Bhagavad Gita the way you are without feeling inferior or having a sense that I might not be able to understand. All these confusions will be removed when you properly listen to today's session. Remember, Samskritam, the best part about Samskritam is that it predates all script. It begins with sound. All the Vedic mantra, they were preserved and transmitted orally. Each and every guru would share the wisdom of the Gita, the Veda, all these scriptures in an oral tradition. Script came at a much later stage. To understand this in clarity, the best example what we can use is to study the sacred syllable Om. When you understand what is Om, how did this develop, then you will automatically understand how Samskritam is thoroughly based on sounds and not just script. In fact, Samskritam, the verses of our scriptures, can be written in any script, not just English. You can even write it in French, you can write it in Russian, you can write it in Spanish. If those languages have the specific sounds which are being created while chanting the mantra. The very first question, and a commonly misunderstood theory, is how to pronounce Om, how to recite Om. Om is in fact known as the Pranava, the Pranava mantra. It is the first fundamental sound of this creation which gave rise to all sounds. Any sound, this speech that you hear from me, is also a formation of sounds, letters, alphabets. It has been conveyed that at the beginning of creation, the very first sound that emanated or that came out in a manifest form from the unmanifest was the sound of Om. It is called as the Pranava mantra. It is said to be the primordial sound. So, as mentioned, a commonly asked question, is it Om? Is it Aum? This session will give you a clarity about this sound before we get into the other sounds. To make it short and simple, both are right. If you write it as OM, Om, it is right, but I'll come to the sound, the basic of that sound. And if you also write it as AUM, that is also right. To understand this theory, we will take help from the Sri Shiva Puranam as well as from the Mandukya Upanishad. In the Sri Shiva Puranam, you will find it written as Om. These are 5 sounds. In the Mandukya Upanishad, there are references given on how you can meditate on every syllable. That is why it is written as AUM. But before we get into this, why is the Om mantra called as a Pranava? Why is Om called as Pranava? The meaning of Pranava is Pra, which is denotes the manifested universe, Prapancha. You see this manifested creation, right? You see your body. This is me, this is my name, this is my form. Prapancha, the manifested universe, is seen now. That universe, Na, which means no more. Va, for you all, referring to the one who meditates on this mantra, because from this is where sound starts. The sound of this creation, all alphabets or letters, they all begin from Om. Let me just turn off the noise cancellation so that you can hear me recite this properly. Yes, it is turned off. So, Va means for you all. So, what is the meaning of Pranava? Pranava means for those who meditate upon the Pranava, the manifested universe, Prapancha, is no more. It brings an end to samsara, which means this constant cycle of changing bodies, karmic reactions because of our karma which we had created in the past embodiment, attachment to the guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas, they all permanently end at that very moment you are in a state. You enter into the state of moksha, which leads you to that. It liberates you. Moksha is liberation. Liberation from attachment to the 3 guna. Liberation from any karmic reaction. And going back to your truest nature. The nature of the Atman. One's own Swarupa, which is bliss. So the sound in Saṁskṛtam begins with Om. That is why we are first looking at Om before we get into the letters. If you don't understand Om, we will not be valuing the letters which we will be studying. So, first, let us look at Om as per the Sri Shiva Puranam. In the Sri Shiva Puranam, Vidyeshwara Samhita, chapter 10, verse 18 and 19, here Sri Shiva beautifully conveys that the syllable akara, akara means a, a, the syllable a arose from the northern face. The syllable u of ukara, ukara, the syllable is u from the western face. The syllable makara, which is the half of ma, from the southern face, and the bindu, the primordial point. It can be seen as the place from which the manifestation begins, likewise from the eastern face. And the nada, which is the first vibration that precedes manifest sound, arose from the middle face. Thus it manifested in 5 forms thereafter. All these became united and thus became the single syllable Om. 5 sounds together, 5 manifestations together create the sound of Om, which means the directions. Everything is created. It is being told in the next few verses, which has not been mentioned here, verse 20, 21, 22, 23 of chapter 10 Vidyeshwara Samhita. We learn that from Om alone begins every form in this creation. From Om alone even comes the Veda. The scriptures that we have, they all emanate from Om. Directions, form, they all begin from Om. So Om from which everything manifests, and Om will also take you to the unmanifest if you meditate on this mantra properly. Because from this very sound, the creation began. The creation begins with sound. Om. The creation begins from sound. From this teaching, we understand that the Pranava consists of 5 components. Akara, which is a, ukara, u, makara, the half of ma, bindu is a dot above in that Om sign. If you see here, in Om, there's a dot above. That dot is what is known as a bindu. And then Nada can be seen as the Ardha Chandra, where you see that slight curve, like a half moon, is what is known as Ardha Chandra. So when we combine all these 5, what happens? What is the sound that we get? When you combine A plus U, we get Oh, because of the guna sandhi which is being applied. I repeat again. Now, how should we pronounce Om? We will see the deeper essence of applying guna sandhi for this, so we can match the perfection of Om. A plus U. When applied, it becomes O. And A and U is applied when they are connected. With the help of guna sandhi, it becomes O. And when O and the half of ma are combined, they give rise to Om. But here, this does not complete the pranava, right? This Om does not complete the pranava. Because if you remember, there are 5 sounds: the bindu and the nada. So to complete the sound, we need to add the bindu, which is the dot above, and the nada, which is coming as the ardhachandra. Hence, this is the full complete sign or symbol of Om, which you see here. This is the correct symbol to use if you are beginning your journey, or if you're someone who wants to meditate on the all 5 sounds of Om. This is the accurate symbol to follow. Now a question arises, how can I chant Om? There are 2 ways mentioned in the Sri Shiva Puranam. Number 1 is known as Hrasva Pranava, which is the short form. For example, the mantra which we did now, some time ago. Om Paramatmane Namaha. The Om which I said was a short form of Om. That is one way. Usually when we chant a mantra, Om Shivaya Namaha, Om Shri Matre Namaha. The Om is much shorter here. So it is also accurate. It is not wrong. This is one way to chant Om. The second way to chant Om is as per Dirgha Pranava, which is the elongated form, which also includes the Bindu and the Nada, which is the complete sound. This is the second way to chant Om. Take a deep breath. If you see, I hope it was heard. I had turned off the noise cancellation. Om. This ending is what makes it complete. This is known as Dirgha Pranava, the complete sound of Om. This is the full recitation. The half one, Hrasva Pranava. The short one, it's not the half one, but rather the short one is Om The elongation, the nada, and the bindu here are left over. When the bindu and the nada are added, it becomes So anyone who recites it as a hrasva pranava, shorter form of Om, or anyone who recites it in a longer form, they both are right. Based on the practice, accordingly, the elongation of Om changes. So here we have understood that the correct form of reciting or pronouncing Om is both the short and the long, which we learnt from the Sri Shiva Puranam. Now comes the next question. How about Aum? Is this right or is it wrong? The answer is this is also right. It comes in the Mandukya Upanishad. By the time we go through this, you will understand how this is also right. See, in the Mandukya Upanishad, there are two upasanas mentioned. Two types of upasanas or sadhana. How to meditate on Om has been mentioned. The very first meditation technique mentioned in this Upanishad is the Vyasta Upasana. Vyasta Upasana is where you meditate on every syllable individually. For example, there are many sadhakas or spiritual seekers who practice by just reciting just not even oo, not even mm. It is mentioned in the Upanishad that by doing this, you will automatically get certain phala, fruit. You can win over the world. You can fulfill all your desires of the world. Whatever you wish to attain can be attained by just chanting or meditating on that specific syllable. So every syllable has a phala, a fruit. And there are many seekers who will chant Om as just Ooh. This is the dream state, swapna. It takes you to this state of consciousness. You'll be able to perceive the state of consciousness when you meditate on this specific vowel. I'm sorry, the specific syllable, which is also a vowel. So, when you meditate on it takes you to the Jagrat state, wakefulness. Ooh, you reach the dream state. The deep sleep state, which I will explain to you in detail of what these states are when we do the Gita level 2 study. Explaining this now will create a great confusion in us. based on the stage of our practice is what we should learn. Many people, they confuse by saying that this is wrong. It is just Om. And people who chant Om say this is wrong. It is because of lack of proper systematic study. See, without studying the Shiva Purana, Devi Purana, Bhagavata Purana, if you jump into the Upanishad, you will mess up your spiritual journey. Because take an example of you going for work. You are a fresher. A company hires you. You're a confident fresher. You say, dear manager or dear HR, please don't give me a role of a fresher. Look at me. I'm so smart, so intelligent. Make me one of the directors of your organization. Confidence is good, but illusionary thinking is very harmful for a practical future. We all grow in stages. That is why in level 1 of the Gita, we will not be touching on this very part. And even the Upanishad itself says, beyond the Vyasta Upasana, it is always better to meditate on the Samasta Upasana. Samasta Upasana is where we learn to meditate on the whole Om. In Samasta Upasana, there are two types, if you remember. One is Vyasta, next is Samasta. In Vyasta Upasana, we begin with based on your desire. Let's say you're someone who has lost all your wealth, you don't have a good career, you don't have a good material life, you want to gain more wealth, power, name, fame. You get into these states, meditating specifically on a syllable. But now, based on the teacher and based on the student, these both should align. Imagine a student is someone who's seeking for liberation. They meet up a teacher who's looking for material power. The student is then advised to do just so both having the right motive is what makes a spiritual journey successful. So my recitation of Om will generally be the complete Om. Why? Because the complete Om is what allows us to reach that state of Turiya. The complete Om is what allows us to connect with the Atman within, which will also help us in the realization of the Brahman, which is the advantage of chanting the Om fully. Now, a question arises, why do then some individuals chant it as Aum? See, if you are watching this session, if you're learning the basics like this, consider yourself to be one in a million. You're very lucky. Not everyone knows the basic rules of Samskrtam grammar or application of Sandhi. So we should not belittle them or make them feel bad that, hey, that is wrong. Not at all. It's not wrong. It is also right. It is just that some seekers would have only chanted on then ooh for a longer time. So when we combine it together, they don't apply the Sandhi rules. After reaching a stage, this is also a spiritual progress in a person's journey. Let's say I wanted some material or some things to attain. After attaining it, yet I was not happy, yet I was not peaceful. I felt there was something really lacking in me. No amount of Material, wealth, power, name, fame satisfied me. Now let me reach what should be reached. Let me attain what should be attained, the knowledge of the Atman. At that time, when they switch their practices and when they recite Om, it comes as Aum. Now, here the sadhaka might have not focused more on the sandhi application. So, all these three syllables, they chant it as they are, which is also right because it takes you to those states, right? Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti, the deep sleep. So chanting this as is also right, but this is just non-application of sandhi. And there are no five sounds involved. When you apply the sandhi with the five sounds, you will be able to reach what we learnt in the Sri Shiva Puranam. This is Samasta Upasana, which is also mentioned in the Mandukya Upanishad. Meditating on the entire Om is the best way to complete your journey. Now, some spiritual seekers will say it as Om. Some, based on their sadhana, based on their upasana, maybe they began with just one syllable and slowly they move to integrate all the syllable. During those states, now a person who's already in a spiritual practice, who's willing to realize the ultimate, is now no longer interested in grammar. O, A plus U becomes O. They don't want all that. They just want to complete their journey. So, with the existing syllable, what they know, they complete their recitations, which becomes Aum, Aum, which is also right. So, the best way to understand this is never to judge anyone in their practice. If someone says Om or someone says or someone is just saying ooh, they all are doing it right. It is not good to say this is right and that is wrong. That is why remember, both the way to pronounce Om are 100% right. The question applies, what do you want? And what do you know? If you wish to realize the ultimate, and you are also having the understanding of Samskrtam grammar or how to apply the sandhi, then you will definitely benefit by knowing that it is Om. If not, this is also right. Knowledge is good as long as it keeps us humble. It becomes vicious the day we become egoistic with it. What one learns is not what everyone learns. Person to person, their sadhana changes. So if someone says, it is right. Om is also right. This is the sound which began the entire creation. That is why we started with Om. And finally, What is Saṁskṛtam? Why do I call it Saṁskṛtam? Why don't I call it a Sanskrit? Because the correct word to address this language is Samskritam. Kindly avoid using Sanskrit or Sanskritam. Sanskritam is also wrong. Samskritam is the right way to address this. But if someone calls it as Sanskrit, don't laugh at them. Don't think that they don't know. As mentioned, every person reaches that state or stage in their life, in their sadhana, based on what they are looking for. Our work should not be to correct others' pronunciation, saying, hey, why do you call it Sanskrit? Say Samskritam. Rather, you should focus on how long do you meditate? Have you overcome anger, greed, hatred? Focus on your journey. Remember, knowledge is a boon. When we are humble, it becomes very dangerously vicious. When we are egoistic, it will destroy you. This very knowledge will destroy you. Rather than it empowering us, you will see destruction of yourself. So whenever you learn it with humbleness. So the meaning of the word Samskritam is that which is perfectly formed or that which is perfectly made. The sound. Remember the sound. Our focus is specifically on sound. Every sound has been given an letter, an alphabet. That is why we call it perfectly made, perfectly complete, without an error. So this is the first basic what we should learn before we enter into the Varnamala, is where we learn how to pronounce every letter in confidence. So when you read this in English, you will give the same pronunciation as a person who reads Devanagari will be giving the pronunciation of that word. There will be no difference between you and that person who reads the very script in Devanagari. Because the intention is focusing on the sound. When you get the sound right of every letter, the overall word is then perfectly correct. So we'll pause it here for this video. In the next video, which will be put in the same page, so I'll keep it at the top. You'll find two videos at the top. First video will be of AUM, which is the basic understanding of sound in Samskritam. The second video will be about alphabets, which you'll find it here at the top. Remember, knowledge and wisdom, what we learn, should make us humble. If what we learn makes us ridicule others, makes us think that I know more, the other person knows less, that is when that very knowledge has begun to destroy you. So let us humbly bow down at the feet of Shri Krishna, Shri Shiva, Ma Devi, that let this wisdom empower us. Let it not destroy us because of our ego. Help us to destroy this ego. Om Tat Sat.